Christmas is usually a day of peace, family, and hope. But during World War II, it became something else too. A lifeline. A chance to save innocent lives when everything else had failed. Today, we bring you unbelievable true stories where Christmas weather, unexpected ceasefires, or simple human compassion allowed soldiers to rescue civilians, even in the middle of a brutal war. This is how Christmas saved lives when the world needed it the most. Let's go back to 1944, somewhere in the rugged mountains of Italy. A small village was caught right between the battle lines. Families were hiding in basements, praying the fighting would just pass them by. Then, on Christmas Eve, heavy snow began to fall, thicker and faster than anyone expected. The sky became a white blur. Planes couldn't fly. Tanks couldn't move. The mountain, which had echoed with gunfire, suddenly fell silent. American troops stationed nearby realized what this meant. This was their chance. The snow was their cover. The enemy was just as stuck as they were. The front was frozen, literally. So the soldiers grabbed lanterns, blankets, and medical supplies. They moved out, not to fight, but to save. One by one, they guided villagers out of the crossfire, carrying children on their backs and helping elderly residents navigate the knee-deep snow. There was no fighting, no shots fired, just the sound of boots crunching through the fresh powder and the quiet whispers of soldiers saying, "You're safe now." That night, over 200 civilians escaped because Christmas brought a storm no army could fight through. It was a miracle born from a blizzard, a moment of pure, unscripted humanity in the heart of chaos. The soldiers weren't just warriors that night. They were saviors, guided by the soft glow of lanterns and the spirit of Christmas. Now let's journey to the Pacific Theater, one of the harshest and most unforgiving battle zones of the entire war. We're talking dense jungles, relentless monsoon rain, and constant danger at every single step. Survival was measured in hours, not days. But on one particular Christmas morning, something incredibly rare happened. Both sides, exhausted and battered by weeks of brutal fighting, held their fire. This wasn't an official truce. It wasn't written down anywhere. It was just a silent, unspoken agreement born from the simple, shared desire to survive one more day. American medics seized this precious moment. They began moving through the thick, suffocating jungle, crawling through mud and tangled vines to pull injured soldiers to safety. But it wasn't just soldiers they were saving. Local island families, trapped between the armies, were also being evacuated. Mothers carried babies clutched tightly to their chests. Elderly villagers, walking barefoot through the wet soil, were led quietly by American troops who were using this Christmas lull as a shield of mercy. One Marine later recalled, "We didn't talk, we didn't wave, but nobody fired. It was like the jungle itself was holding its breath." Christmas didn't end the war, not even close. But that one morning of silence, that single day of unspoken peace, saved dozens of lives that would have otherwise been lost. Our next story takes us to Belgium in 1944, during the infamous Battle of the Bulge. Chaos raged across the frozen landscape. It was brutally cold, with snow covering everything, and confusion was everywhere. In one small town, German and American positions were dangerously close, separated by just a few hundred yards. Civilians were trapped in their homes, caught in the middle with no way out. The constant threat of shelling kept everyone pinned down. But on Christmas night, something changed. The firing stopped. This wasn't a formal agreement or a treaty. It was because a thick, dense fog rolled in, reducing visibility to almost zero. Neither side could see to fight. American officers made a risky but compassionate decision. Use this temporary pause to evacuate the civilians through the forest. Soldiers grabbed their lanterns, keeping the light low to avoid detection, and began guiding families across a dangerously icy river bridge. It was a slow, terrifying journey in the dark. At one point, a young girl slipped, nearly falling into the freezing water below. But just in time, an American soldier grabbed her hand and pulled her back to safety. Years later, that same girl wrote in her diary, "A stranger saved my life on Christmas. I never knew his name, but I pray he made it home." That night, over 100 civilians crossed that bridge to safety because Christmas brought a fog that became an unexpected blanket of mercy. Finally, we go to London, Christmas 1940. The Blitz was relentless. Bombs shook the city almost every single night. The wail of air raid sirens was the soundtrack to daily life. But on this Christmas Eve, the air was unusually still. There were no sirens, no planes droning overhead, just a rare, profound quiet that settled over the battered city. Firefighters, soldiers, and everyday volunteers rushed to use this precious calm. They scrambled over rubble, pulling survivors from collapsed buildings. They carried injured families to shelters and worked tirelessly to put out smoldering fires before they could spread and cause more destruction. For the first time in months, the people of London heard something strange, something they thought they might never hear again. Church bells, ringing softly in the cold night air, a sound of hope cutting through the darkness. One firefighter said later, "Christmas didn't stop the war, but it gave us one night to save as many lives as we could." That brief pause, that one silent night, allowed heroes to work miracles in the ruins, proving that even in a city under siege, the spirit of Christmas could offer a moment of grace and a chance for life. These stories remind us that even in the worst moments of history, humanity can still shine through. Christmas wasn't just a holiday on a calendar. During the war, it became a beacon of hope. It was a reason for soldiers to pause, a storm that provided cover, a fog that offered a shield. It was a chance to save innocent lives when everything else seemed impossible. War brings unimaginable destruction, but Christmas, in these incredible instances, brought something different, a moment of peace that saved thousands. And these moments prove something incredibly powerful, that even in the darkest of hours, a single act of compassion, a silent truce, or a shared moment of humanity can change the world. Thanks for watching. If these stories moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more.